Okay, so we have these, our design teams. We have 4 teams right now, and we'll be creating more. And our overall goal for the project is to create a online empathy training. And so right now we're meeting every week. We meet for 2 hours, and I wanted to get a sort of a baseline of where everyone is, all the participants, in terms of their commitment or availability for time, and also their skills and so forth. So I put together an outline of how people can be involved. And let me see, I have to shift screens here. Let me stop the share for a second and bring this up. Okay. So this is the little bit sort of a checklist for that we can go through with everyone in the design team. And so the question is, how might you like to contribute to the empathy training MOOC project? And we want to lay out like what the project needs are. So that's here. And sort of lay out the categories of contribution or involvement. And the first one is just saying, I would like to, first is participate as a sample workshop attendee. So when we do this training, we're using the Listening Well book. It has 16 chapters. We meet for 2 hours. We read one chapter. Read the material, we show up and we do the exercises for 2 hours. So that's sort of like the minimal participation that everyone has committed to. And we've been saying we meet for 2 hours, and I'd said like 2 or 3 hours outside work, and really it's been way less because to read a chapter takes about 2 to 7 minutes. I kind of checked, they're very short chapters. And so that's been, it hasn't been too much of a, too much work to really do outside of the meetings. So this is an outline, and we want to keep refining this, for our existing teams and other teams in the future, because I hope to just keep developing design teams, going forward to really make this, an amazing training. And so the first question is co-design training, how many hours per week would you like to contribute? So the commitment, as I mentioned, was initial 6 weeks. We asked everyone to at least do 6 weeks, which means we do chapters 1 through 6 here. So that's sort of like the minimum. We want to find out, how much time do you have outside? We can put that in here and say maybe 2 hours a week or something. And then we've been asking, once you've sort of checked out the project, done the 6-week commitment, we can continue on for another, 10 weeks actually, because if we do the whole book, that's actually 16 weeks doing 16 chapters. And so then you can say, yeah. And actually quite a few people have already said they want to do the full 16 weeks. So our team 1 everyone's committed to the full 16 weeks. So then the next thing is what skills, I have the following skills I can contribute. So if you have some specific skills, like you're a facilitator, a mediator, a web designer, etc., you can write down what skills you have. Another category here is we can design activity lessons. And so it's sort of like in the book, each chapter, not every chapter, but most chapters have a try it exercise. And so you can take one of those exercises and design an activity out of it. And then facilitate it and sort of refine it, and and also design new lessons. So there's in the let me bring up the MOOC page here. So we have this toolkit section here. Let me bring that. And in the toolkit section, these are the activities. There's chapter 5 has blocks with reflection. Chapter 6 has monologue. Chapter 7 has one thing. This is the triad. Chapter 8 has a reflection. So these chapters all have different activities. And we also have other activities like a role play to block an empathy, a block to empathy role play. We have the empathy buddies, the drama triangle. So every time we kind of come up with an idea, I've been turning that into an activity of its own. So the one we have, for example, the opening feeling exercise, which we've added, and that was, oh, that's not the one. That's where's mirroring feelings exercise. That's the one we kind of implemented at the beginning, right? Where you share a felt experience and everybody mirrors the activity. So we create a whole kind of outline for it. We have description, we have the template, objectives and goals, why are we doing it, the time needed. So creating a whole kind of a toolkit of these different activities. So that is the sort of design and activity lesson. That would be some project to take on. So anyone can take that, on to design and refine an activity and, create a video and feedback and all that kind of stuff. So really, have a really nicely designed activity. Then you can design and facilitate the activity and facilitate an X weeks of empathy study group. So you could create an empathy circle study group, for example. So these are just some ideas of how you might contribute. Visioning is, we need to envision and write up what a culture of empathy the vision is, because that's something that this training is a little bit different than just a regular empathy training, because the vision is a culture of empathy instead of just sort of an individualistic, I as an individual are going to become a better, better at empathy, but really how do we create a more empathic culture, which especially in the United States, as it becomes more authoritarian and sort of almost anti-empathic, I think it's going to be more and more important that people think in terms of the whole culture. How do we, make a more empathic culture? So we're going to be doing some visioning circles. So, we get together and do some visioning on this, and maybe, and if you want to do that, you can check in. I want to do that. I'm good at writing, because we need some people who are good at writing, that can write well, say, yeah, I'm willing to write copy. And you can kind of check off here which what you want to be involved in. If you're good at technical production, like creating the web design or creating videos, because for each of the lessons, we'd like to create a lesson that's like the book, we just read it, right? But we can also have a video lesson where somebody's sort of giving a talk and presenting the material kind of in a more visual multimedia way, like with slideshow or images. There's also those type of cartoons, those animation sort of cartoons that are super popular and get a lot of views. Like there's one called, there's one on Facebook that I see all the time. It's the why is empathy important or something. It has like 2 or 3 or 4 million views. So we could, if we could create lessons that use those animations, I think that would really be a draw too for people to take part. But it takes very skilled people to be able to create those. So we need to find those and those type of people that can create those animation. There's lead, facilitate empathy trainings. So you can lead a team, a study team. You can just one meeting, and or you can do a whole series, you know, have a whole 16-week series, and you can also comment. So yeah, I want to do that. I want to like to do this. And we need to also lay, you know, this outline is kind of articulated better so it's clear and kind of create a little explanation for each of these sections. And then, so I think a couple things that are different about this training than a lot of the other empathy trainings is, one is we have the intention of a culture of empathy. So that's kind of unique. It's not like, hey, it's just me as an individual, how do I be better at empathy? It's that is part of it, but then we have mutual empathy, right? Like in families or in a community and in the whole country or the world. Like, how do we really transform society to be a more empathic society and have that community cultural vision as well, and be working towards it. The other is that we're using the empathy circle, which is a relational, you know, process as a means to build that, and have a lot of other, you know, skills that we add on top of that. And the other part is the activism that we have. This empathy tent, for example, and it can be a lot of different ways of doing this activism. We take an empathy tent out into the public, and we offer, you know, empathic listening. The community can come by. We offer listening to them. We teach empathy circles, like out at the tent. We take the tent into conflict areas and do mediations. And you can go to, let's see, empathytent.com, which takes you to the website. And at the website, you can see, you know, all the, this is all the media we've got quite a bit of media about the work. So
neat.
Yeah, there's a whole press kit, and, you know, and each of the the pop-ups that we did, you know, we have
Wow.
we have these are each of the things, and we've been doing these tents since 2011 at Occupy Wall Street. And so these are like mediations we did. This is a mediation we did at the Empathy Tent in Los Angeles. So we went there, and there was an anti-Trump rally and then a counter rally, a pro-Trump rally, and we did mediations in the tent, you know, next to the rallies. And we took one Trump supporter and one anti-Trump, and we did a mediation. We did 6 mediations with there. And they, each of the mediations ended with the participants giving each other a hug, as well as saying they were willing to do online empathy circles as a follow-up. We only did one follow-up. This just was a matter of time. This was in Sacramento. There was a sort of a pro-Trump rally that we were the only leftist liberals that came. And we set up the empathy tent, and we have the sign, come talk to us, we listen. And we had, you know, people kind of doing empathy circle practice. And in fact, we had a group of Identity Europa group that is the ones who were at Charlottesville, who had the tiki torches and all that kind of stuff. So they're kind of quite on the political right. 5 of them came, and we were actually doing an empathy circle with them. And, you know, it was very interesting because one of our members is Jewish, and, you know, they're like somewhat Holocaust deniers, etc. And so they were actually doing empathic listening with each other. So, and then, you know, at UC Berkeley, we've set up the tent, and we've done it at other different rallies. So there's all kinds of, you know, places that we've, you know, this is another one. So there's a whole list here at empathytent.com, and you can see the media. And this group here was when we were at UC Berkeley. This is the empathy class. They came to the tent, and we were teaching them how to do empathy circle practice. So that's like saying, yeah, I want to be an empathy activist. I was just telling Jessica that we offer, you know, we're offering listening. We offer empathy circle practice, as well as we say we have training. So it can be a way to guide people to this training that we're developing. So if we have the training more developed, then we can offer the training. You know, it can be a sort of a gateway to, you know, offering paid, you know, training that people would want to take part in, and would be a way to sort of finance this work as well. So that's one reason I want to get this empathy training, you know, well designed. And so you can say, yeah, that sounds good. I'll start a facilitate, I'll start a, or you can just do an online empathy circle support group. Or you can do, and that's another project. Like the political right is coming to Berkeley, and there'll be probably a counter demonstration in August. So we're trying to line up mediations between the two sides online before the event. So I've reached out to the mayor of Berkeley and said, would you be willing to do an empathy circle? Would you be, would you be willing to do an empathy circle with, you know, the organizer of the rally, of the conservative rally? And right now, I'm talking with the mayor's office about doing that, because if they have some dialogue beforehand, it might head off some violence. And so you can say, yeah, I want to do that. And then there's kind of any other ideas and comments, you know. So this is a basic, you know, framework of how, you know, if you're taking part in the design project, you know, how you'd like to be involved, as well as we can keep fleshing this out to make it clear. And, you know, I don't know, there's probably a lot of things I haven't thought of that, you know, you might have thought of. So that's it. If you see this, we're trying to go through and have everyone do this online, and we're doing it in the different meetings. Each of the meetings, we're kind of going through this. So I'm going to stop that, and I'm going to stop the recording.